Welcome to another episode, everyone. Serial killers go hunting for revenge. Kitchen Crips versus multiple blood sets. The Kitchen Crips and the Swan Bloods are going at it, or have been going at it for some time in a very vicious war. This is part one of the serial killers go hunting for revenge. This is rap news and street politics. The best hood channel on YouTube. Shout out to him.
Whoa. What? Bloods. You know where we at.
Free Lil Roy, baby Rue till they home. Don't get caught in that pond water, baby ass trying to scope. Flipping the same like go drag a stove. They can't see from far back, you get up close.
In the Florence Graham area, where the investigation is going to be a lengthy one. Our John Neese, who is live here, to show us what the drive and the conditions are like. I mean, look, you just need to stay away from this area. It is Hooper at Firestone. You see how active the scene is.
Yep.
Rap news, street politics, best hood channel on YouTube. And we back on the east side of South Central, about to touch on some hoods that in turn some dudes into serial killers over here on the east side. We talking about the war between the Kitchen Crips and multiple blood sets that really be getting cracking on the east side of LA, man. And we're gonna speak on some notable people that y'all may have seen before involved in this war, being GB from Miller Gangsta Bloods, who was B Brazy's cellmate, and Infant Fly from Eastside Kitchen Crip, who y'all may have seen on Soft White Underbelly when he was involved with that female Azariah. So we know the Kitchens is gonna be a hood that not a lot of people really be talking about. Both of they hoods is really located in between a lot of different other sections that get more airtime to the public. But the Kitchens are one of the oldest Crip hoods on the east side, dating back to the 70s. They also...
Yeah, right. And the Kitchen Crips, you know, they're not that big. They're not a big hood, really never have been that deep. But they have always been a factor in the city. They have always been a factor in the area. If you know, you know. I know some real OGs from Kitchen, but many of us do. And though they're not a big hood and perhaps not as popular as some of these other gangs, they are a force to be reckoned with. They beef with a lot of different sets, or they used to anyway. And for them to be such a small hood, they really held their own through all of those situations.
One of many hoods in LA that got hoods outside of California as well, that we seen functioning with the KCs in LA as well.
I'm protected by the killers in a drug Don't move, and I swear you get in touch. I ain't checking shit, don't wanna know what's up. My ex Maddie like my last bitch was way real. I'm protected by the killers in a drug
Now, despite not being an extra large hood over here on the east side, they got two sections that have really been known to get cracking on all their enemies over the last few decades, man. And they original hood over here in the 80s, in the neighborhood that's known as Florence Graham, they share this section with the Florencias, and they surrounded by old enemies that they turn cool with and some enemies that they still are extremely.
But they one of the gangs, you know, they surrounded by a South Side gang, but they don't beef with them. They don't beef with Florencia at all. I mean, Florencia is so big though, and they so small. That wouldn't be good. But they never had a beef with F-13.
Active with. So like I said, the middle of the day hood is gonna be over here off 87th and Hooper. But these dudes gonna border Zamora and Central, east to west, and 88th up to 83rd, north to south. And that Hooper market on Hooper and 83rd is definitely gonna be a main spot for the Kitchen Crips. And they for sure gonna be active in them alleyways behind the Burger King, the El Super, on Firestone as well. So this whole area, the Kitchen Crips are definitely active. But like I said, they sharing territory over here with the Florencias, a hood that they don't have problems with. We've seen the Kitchens and the F-13s in this section hit up together and not whack each other out. But hoods to the north and the east of them, they used to beef with in the 7-6 East Coast and the 8-9 East Coast neighborhood Crips. Now, you know, this was also a cracking war between the Kitchens and the East Coast, which also bled to the 11-6 hood over there by the 11-8 blocks. And we're going to touch on them. But in the last few years, the Kitchens and the East Coast have been able to come to the table, hash out their differences. And it seems like the Kitchens really have dwindled down on their Crip on Crip beef. They've always been cool with the Avalons over here and the other gangster Crips, and they've known to be tight-knit with Compton Avenue Watts, which is a smaller Crip hood between 92nd and Century, known as the Dark Side. But to the west of them past Central, that's where pretty much all they beef is gonna be with the Swans.
Medical, party on your block like a festival. All you hear is helicopter sirens and arrestables. Anything looks suspicious to the cops, you sweatable. And before you start the war, you better know it's never settable. West Main, Diamond Lane, we front line and shoot things. We pack fast straps and keep it sack is how we do things. Trying to catch a nigga out slipping like a new game. LHP all the way to Bumpton so the rules came.
Now we know the Swans, one of the largest and most dangerous hoods over here on the east side. And they controlling a lot of territory, a lot more than the Kitchens. But like I said, the Kitchens have had heavy hitters come out of both of their sections in the 8-7s and the 11-6s. But the Swans got multiple sections, some that have been known to beef with each other in times past, but nonetheless, they really pushing a unified movement within their hood. Now, directly across Central, between Manchester and 88. Now, Manchester, once you get past Central, it turns into Firestone Boulevard. So basically, those streets are the same. So right past Central between Manchester and 88, until you get to the Avalon Gardens, that's gonna be them 88 Swans, mob Swans. And just south of 88, you got the family Swans, whose main cliques are gonna be on 89th and 92nd. Now, they've been known to push neighborhood family Swans or just FSB, but this section been known to be tight-knit with the Inglewood families and the Sentinella families in Inglewood pushing that family movement. And all of the Swan hoods are going to be a part of a collective called VSOP, which allies them together with the East Side Bloodstone Villains in the Low Bottoms, the East Side Rolling 20 Outlaw Bloods, and the Rolling 30 and Rolling 40 Bloodstone Pyrus on the East Side.
Yes, an extremely formidable group, right? VSOP, these are every hood alone is hard hitting. So once they clicked up and came together, you know, when you're beefing with one of them, you're beefing with all. Well, that's a lot of hell to pay for individuals. You know, the Swans are not really the blood gang that you want to mess with. I don't want to say too much, but they've been known to be rather quick with responding. If you go over there messing with them, before you even make it back to where you're going, they lighten your ass up. For real, for real.
Now, both of these hoods underneath Manchester is going to stretch the same link as 88 Avalon Hood, a hood that's been cool with the Kitchens due to their common enemies when they was once beefing with the neighborhoods, the East Coast over here, and they common enemies in the Swans. But these two Swan sections underneath Manchester pretty much going to be in between their enemies, with the Avalons to the west, 9-7 East Coast to the south, 8-9 the Kitchen Crips to the east of them past Central, and not far from here, they also in a deadly war with the 984 Main Streets, 98th and 84th. Now, the largest Swan section is going to be MSB, Eastside Mass Swans, and they stretching all the way from Manchester up to about 75th, where you run into the 7 Tray Gangsters and the 7 Tray Hustler Crips on the north side of 75th. But either way, they still got 10 solid blocks all the way from Manchester to 75th. And they going from Central all the way back to Broadway, where they gonna share some of their territory from about 81st and Broadway up to 75th with Barrio Majados. Now, right here between 82nd and Manchester, Main and San Pedro, this where they gonna be really active with them 84 Main Streets. And like I said, above 75th, the 7 Trays is right there, but 6-pack East Coast is gonna be just past Florence as well. So the Swans, even though they got a large hood, they got a lot of beef to get into, man, over here in this section. But them MSB clicks is gonna be on 77th, 79th, 80th. Of course, we all know about them 84 Swans, but all these Swan hoods from 75th all the way down to 92nd is gonna be tight knit with each other, getting cracking on their enemies. But like I said, the Kitchens also have another set, them 11-6 Kitchens, that's gonna be tight knit with the 8-7s. They gonna operate on the same time, and they gonna be over here right outside the Nickerson Gardens in the area called Green Meadows, between Imperial and the 116th. Now, they do bleed past the 105 to 120th, where the Millers are on 120th at them Dory Miller apartments. But they've been fighting for that area for a long time, right up under the 105. And they also gonna go from Avalon to Central, where they beefing with the bounty hunters at that Shell gas station heavy right there. all down Imperial. And of course, the 11 Aces right across Avalon from them, they no longer are beefing with the 11 Ace, but they've been known to have a heavy beef with 11 Ace main enemy in Athens Park, and of course the Miller Gangsta Bloods, who's gonna be south of them past 120th. And we spoke about Athens in their own video. Y'all make sure y'all go check that out. We know they at the park, but over here on 130th and San Pedro, that's gonna be where the Athens really be at. Now there was another Avalon set over here called 11-6 Avalon. It said that the 11-6 kitchens have soaked up the 11-6 Avalons, and they also gonna be cool with the Broadways over here as well. But yet another big enemy that they beefing with, another blood hood, is gonna be Bounty Hunter Wise. Now we know Bounty Hunter is gonna be inside the projects and outside the projects, bleeding past Compton Avenue all the way to Willowbrook, and they're gonna be right on top of the kitchens north of Imperial on all them blocks as well, where they pushed out the mid-city stoners that used to be.
So again, this is a very small hood, the Kitchen Crips, but they are into it with some very big hoods. The East Coast Crips, they have since settled their differences. Thankfully, the Swans, which are a big hood, obviously the East Coasters are extremely big. The Bounty Hunters, they're into it with very big hoods, and they were really catching flack from different areas at one point. I remember, but throughout that, they were indeed holding their own. They have some reputable members over there who was really staying down, with not a big group, not a big help, without a lot of help, without a lot of assistance. They held their own.
Right here. And another Sudaño hood named Wasvadio Lacotes is in this section as well, fighting with Bounty Hunter in this section. But this 11-6 section is where a lot of things have cracked off at.
What's the big old deal, man? They show good peoples, man. We pouring life in that cell block, man. Free the Miller, man. Free the peoples. Free the king, man. It's all good, though, man. We gonna be out there real live and direct. You feel me? It's still ES with the BX, man. Y'all already know, man. Sway music and all that, man. Free the kid today. Free the kid, man. ES with the BS. It's on the floor, man.
If I hit the county, bet them niggas wanna run me. Slide on them on that one street. I just got a checkin' that these bitches wanna fuck me. I can't fuck with her, that bitch dusty. I just pulled a full bus so I can feel it.
And funny enough, somebody that's been popping on the internet with Baby B Brazy, his cellmate King Miller went down on a case where it was said that he killed a member from 11-6 Kitchen. Now he from Miller. They right here on 120th, and like I said, the Millers in the Kitchen's been beefing over this territory between 120th and the 105 for an extremely long time. But right here on 120th is where everything bubbled up behind these Dory Miller Manor apartments in them alleyways that the Millers really be in. So Baby B Brazy's cellmate, Terrell Jones, on December 29th in 2015, it said that he was communicating with one of his homies named Rock Solid over here in the Millers. And we touched on the Millers exclusively when we talked about Athens Park. So we know they pretty much the same hood, AMGB, Athens Miller Gangsta Bloods. So the Millers can really be on 120th, they can be at the park, and they can be at the villas on 130th and San Pedro.
Yeah.
But it said at this time, Terrell Jones had seen some dudes that he knew to be from Kitchen. One of them dudes named Poppy and another one named Evil was patrolling this area looking for dudes from Miller. Now, like I said, coming from 11-6 down Stanford Avenue, down Avalon or Central, everything is pretty close between these two hoods. The green line on Avalon.
Yes, it's pretty close. And every hood in LA. That's why you have to know what you're doing if you're going to be down there. Or you have to know the area. You have to know the gangs. Because if not, you'll find yourself in a world of trouble. Because the hoods are in such close proximity. You have one hood right here, and you literally go up a block, and it's another hood, and they're beefing with one another. You're just walking down the street. But these individuals don't know if you're from this hood or that hood, and whether or not you're coming to do damage to them, though you're not even, affiliated. That's why you have to be careful in Los Angeles. Compton and Long Beach, you have to be extremely careful. I don't care what anyone says. Forget what you heard. Be careful, because if not, you'll find yourself caught up in these wars. And these individuals are going to war, and they have been at war for a long time. And there's so many different hoods that are at war like this, and you just don't know what's going on. And you get cooked.
It's definitely a spot that's well known for the Kitchens and a bunch of other hoods to be patrolling, whether it's looking to smoke somebody or rob one of their enemies right here. But it said on this day, them two dudes from Kitchen was rolling through these alleys looking to hit up.
Yeah.
But to Terrell Jones and his homies from Miller, they felt like they was looking for some Millers to bust on. And it said that a dude named Ian Antonio Davis was sitting over here on his porch at these apartments on 120th when Poppy and Evil pulled up to hit up in the alley. Now, it was said that Terrell had communicated with his homie on how he should go about it by catching one of them dudes in the alley, whether he should get a whip or he should walk up on foot or what. Because the thing is, like I said, this is a well-known alley by everybody behind them apartments where multiple shootouts have took place. But either way, Jones said he was coming with the pistol and popped up in the alley where surveillance camera caught him and one of his homies creeping through the section with a pistol in his hand. It said that Ian Davis seen him in the alley when he was sitting in his porch behind the gate, and he got up and looked through the gate. At this time, it said that Terrell Jones put the pistol through the gate and shot Ian Davis in his head.
Damn.
Killing him right there on the spot.
Damn.
Now, again, this was broad daylight, 5, 6 o'clock, and Terrell was on surveillance camera, even though he never looked directly at the surveillance camera. Detectives were able to take him to a specialist, a detective that ain't never met him before, comb through all the social media and start putting everything together. So the next month, they found Jones on San Pedro and 130th, kicking it with the Athens Parks. They put him under surveillance and started looking at him while they were still pretty much trying to build their case on him, even though they wasn't completely positive that they was going to be able to place him at the scene and, do the whole thing to him. But it said that he was staying with his step-pops and his mom over on Vermont. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe it was 109th in Vermont where he was staying at the time, right in between the Denver Lanes and the 107s. And it said that when his mom stepped out the crib, the folks run up in there, his step-pops let him in, and they find the clothes that matched what he was allegedly wearing on that surveillance camera. So April 28, 2016, they end up.
Well, that's not smart. They said that was Baby B. Braves' old Sally that had the clothes in his home that he had on surveillance. Perhaps he didn't know he was on surveillance. I don't know, but it's time to get rid of all of that stuff. But this is not how to get away with murder. So I mean, whatever. But I'm just saying, you have to be. He has a long time. He's in prison for a long time. He's in prison for a long time too.
Picking him up for the first-degree murder. Now, at this point, they pretty much talked him into circles, and he ended up admitting to being in the area at the time of the murder and going to see one of his friends. And he also admitted to knowing the victim in this case as well, but said he didn't think he was gang-related or none of that. My thing is still a little bit too much talking.
Yeah.
Look at the paperwork. They had him, but they kind of didn't for real. You know what?
Oh, man. He said, if you look at the paperwork, they had him, but they kind of didn't for real. He's doing too much talking. Why would you tell them that you know the victim? They got you on surveillance, but not pulling the trigger. Let's see, man.
What I'm saying, my thing is that social media and that talking kind of sold the whole shit up, man. Without that social media and without confirming that he was there, they didn't say they used cell phone records or none of that, but if he didn't confirm he was there, didn't confirm that he knew Ian Davis, he probably wouldn't be in the cell right now with Baby B. Brazy. But on top of that, they also had text messages between him and his homie talking about how the Kitchens was trying to expand in the Miller Hood and try to take dudes out. And they basically was saying that they need to do something about that. Or the little homies needed to do something about that. So them insinuations also went into his current situation as well. Now, because...
Yeah, man, people gonna get enough of talking on this social media. They making posts on Instagram after they go put in work. They're giving detailed accounts of what just happened on Instagram. People coming up dead, they're taking credit for it on Instagram. The government has made it clear, explicitly clear, that they use social media to help build cases and lyrics, rap lyrics, hip hop. This is where they glean a lot of their information from. So if you're on social media, I've seen it in the courtrooms lately. The judge is bringing it up. Well, you were on Instagram with a big weapon. You didn't seem remorseful. This stuff, once it's on the internet, is there forever. even if you delete it, you have to be careful, man. There's no need to go around bragging about murdering someone. That's nothing to brag about.
Prior convictions, vehicle theft, possession of a firearm by a felon, second-degree robbery, forgery, all kind of little bullshit. He ended up blowing trial, man, and getting a 75-year to life prison sentence, man. They got him on a first-degree murder with the firearm enhancements.
That's up.
And like I said, he's currently in Delano right now, not eligible for parole until 2051.
Damn.
Now, like I said, this is a very active war between the Kitchens and AMG. That member Poppy, the dude that was instructing his homies to hit up in the alley, Jonte Etris. We seen Alex.
He not due for parole until 2051. That's just, the earliest that he's up for parole. Certainly doesn't mean that he's going to be paroled. I mean, hopefully so. Hopefully he turns his life around and gets out and is an attribute to society and to the community. It is so desperately needed. But when you start talking like that on the internet and on Instagram, wherever on the internet, then you're putting yourself in harm's way, particularly if you know that you are indeed guilty of something. You have to stay quiet. You just can't discuss it. And everyone should know that at this point, because so many individuals have went down for that very thing. But yeah, even though the Kitchens are a very small group, they have been over there moving on those individuals, trying to, get some of that territory for some time. And they've been going back and forth. There have been killings back and forth, even though they're not that deep and have lost members. They continue to fight on, the Kitchens.
Alonzo sit down with an OG member from Kitchen and speak about this dude where he beat a murder case 3 times. But sadly, he lost his life over here on 121st Street in this AMG section, not too many years after the murder of Ian Davis, man. So like I said, it's crazy in this section.
Yeah.
And if a show go up in this Green Meadows, Willowbrook area.
Hey, shit, it's all good, nigga. Don't snuff around in my section. Watch, nigga, you know when I keep a weapon, no flexing. Niggas I know getting reckless. Rob your bitch, ain't her granny, nigga. Better tuck your necklace. I'm sticking and moving, wood blowing while I'm cruising. Get with the program, little bitch, this team stupid. I'm acting foolish and I'm boring how I do it. I'm 100 times 10 with 1,000 ways to prove it.
But this 11-6 section right here is where it all got cracking and situations transpired that turned some of these Kitchen Crip members into straight serial killers out here on the east side of LA. Now, fast forward a couple years from this Ian Davis murder over here, September 26, 2021, on the 116th, in the middle of this Kitchen Crip hood, a G homie from their section named Cole Walker Haywood was shot and killed while he was riding with one of his homies, Tyrese Marquise Brown, also from 11-6 Kitchen. Now, like I said, Cole ended up losing his life. Marquise escaped with his life that day in this war with the Bloods over here between the Nicholson Gardens and the Athens Miller gang. Now, of course, this case is relatively new, and it's a bunch of allegations that circled around about who did it. But let the Kitchens tell it, they didn't give a fuck who did it. They went cracking on any blood hood from 116th, every blood enemy they have, they tried to put work on and ended up killing 6 people in less than 2 months, right after this homicide.
9 people have been arrested and charged in connection with a killing spree over the past several months. They've been charged with both murder and attempted murder and allegedly conspired together to commit these crimes.
9 in connection with killing spree. Damn. 6 killings in 2 months, the same group, the same individual, and some attempts are responsible for, that's a serial killer. Really, like 3 or more serial killers. 6, and this was over 1. Talk about an eye for an eye. This was over 1 killing. They went on a straight spree. Again, this is a very small hood. Perhaps probably feeling like, partially at least because of that, because they're so small, that they really have to stick together and have to respond and put people in their place whenever there's a situation, because if not, they're going to be trampled upon. They're going to disappear. They have all of these beasts with all of these big hoods. If they don't fight back accordingly and even go overboard, then they'll be picked upon and flushed out of the area. They'll be up out of LA. So they have to stay down. But this is overkill. This is how these It's cold like that.
Most of them were gang-related. 6 people were killed, one of them as young as 18 years old.
So there was 9 defendants total in this case who went into avenging the murder of their OG homie Cole Haywood. Again, there was the dude that Cole was with, Tyrese Brown, who was 28 at the time, Jazani Cruz, who was 27, James Patterson, who was 38, Mario and Tony Gonzalez, both brothers, both 20 and 21, Daryl Ray Jones, Matthew Mooten, Luis Felipe Moratala, who was 21, and Alexander Padilla Yates, who was 27 at the time. Now, the key thing is, that dude Matthew Mooten, he goes by the name Infant Fly, the dude you may have seen on Soft White Underbelly with that female Azariah, who he was pimping on at the time that all this was transpiring.
So this is Fly, and you are, how would you describe yourself? You are Azariah's boyfriend?
Yes.
Are you her money manager as well?
Yes.
Would you call it a pimp?
I wouldn't use that per se, but yeah.
Now, not all these dudes was involved in every single murder, but Mario Gonzalez, man, 20 years old, was seemingly with all that gunplay because he was charged with all 6 murders in this case and had an $18 million.
Side note, being a pimp is just disgusting. It's really one of the worst things you can ever do. One of the worst things you're abusing women, beating on them, making them sell their body, and you keep the money. Go get your own money.
$1 bail to show for it. So like I said, being charged with all 6, he also had 3 counts of conspiracy to commit murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Now he's currently in the Twin Towers, and he's one of the last ones that's about to be transferred up to Wasco looking for a permanent stay in state prison. But he was there for the murder of everybody starting on November 15th, just a month after they big homie got killed, where they was up by their A7 hood on 79th and McKinley. So it said that Mario was driving a car with his brother Tony Gonzalez, and they had Padilla Yates in the passenger with them as well. Now, rolling down 79th and McKinley, like we said, 7-9 is going to be a clique of MSB. And 79th and McKinley is going to be one of their main spots, not too far from Fremont High School. So this is when they pulled up on 18-year-old Aaron Sutton, who they believe was a member of them Eastside Mass Swan Bloods. And with Mario driving, it said that Tony and Padilla got out and chased Sutton, where Tony Gonzalez ended up doing the work and killing Sutton on the spot over here on 79th and McKinley. Now, presumably in retaliation to this whole situation, later that day, after killing 18-year-old Sutton, the Swans allegedly shot up a house that was in the Kitchen Crib hood, and Moratala, one of the co-defendants on this case, was involved at a shooting at a liquor store in the Swan hood, all in the same day, man. Like I said, these dudes started to get cracking. With Mario and Tony Gonzalez,
all in the same day. This is a vicious war going back and forth. But once they killed the OG homie from Kitchen, they apparently went on a serial killing spree for months. 9 individuals involved in this alleged killing spree, and they're all headed to prison for the rest of their life. That's 15 individuals, 6 dead, 9 in jail for the rest of their life. No one wins in these situations. We just killing each other back and forth. This needs to stop fast.
Being 2 of the main ones, when they ended up going down on the case, their uncle showed up at court and the news got up with him. They asked the uncle what's going on. He didn't even know they was down for these murder charges, these hot ass charges. And he ended up telling the news that ever since they homie died in the 11-6, they big homie, Cole Haywood, he said something kind of triggered them. They kind of took a turn for the worse, man. And like I said, this was the turn to being serial killers out here on the east side. Because just 6 days after they killed Aaron Sutton, here Mario Gonzalez go again, this time in the 8-8 Swans off 88th and Central, November 21st. He rolling down the street and see somebody else who he think from Swans, end up busting that dude, missing him, and end up killing 61-year-old Christopher Darnell Woods over here in this MSB hood, somebody that wasn't even affiliated with this whole situation, but now he got his second murder under his belt. But that didn't stop him and he didn't put a pause on the motion. But the next day after this, they decided to leave the Swans alone for a little bit. They wanted to.
You would think that might give you a little pause for a minute. The fact that you went over there gunning, you got away, at least to this point, to this juncture, you got away with one murder. 6 days later, you're going to commit another one, but you hit the wrong person. Certainly, it's in the newspapers, all of this. Excuse me, that you done killed a 61-year-old. Well, that might give you pause and say, okay, let me take a break. But no, you killed it. He wasn't your target. He wasn't a member. He was a non-affiliated 61-year-old man, someone's grandfather. You done killed him by accident. You individuals have no aim. You don't even practice. You just out here shooting up stuff and killing all kinds of freaking people. And then you back on a mission? After you done killed the wrong person?
Cool down, I guess. And we seen 7 of these dudes. Tyrese Brown, Jazani Cruz, James Patterson, Mario Gonzalez, Tony Gonzalez, Daryl Jones, and Alexander Padilla Yates all jump into the car where they seemingly met up on 116th and slid down Imperial. Now, this is where they ended up bending into the Nickerson Gardens looking for some bounty hunter Watts Bloods off of Parma Lee Avenue. Now, November 22nd, after all 7 of them plotted at Patterson's home on 116th, they rode in a caravan 3 cars deep and start popping out the window, sadly killing a female, 24-year-old Timothy Lee, on November 22nd. And this is something that just went crazy in the city because it was said that Timothy had originally stayed in here. She moved out and was coming back visiting her family, and this tragic situation ended up happening. She ended up getting caught in this whole mess between the kitchens, trying to get at any bloods that they could that they believe was responsible for their big homie going down, man. And right here.
Yeah, and see, and when you have that sort of mindset as a gang, that's what happens. You really out there just gunning at nearly anything and anyone, like they had said, since No Blood Set was saying who it was, taking credit for it, they said, okay, it's up with everybody. And again, I've said this before, a lot of gangs end up doing this. If they don't know who it is that killed their homeboy, because you beef with so many different gangs, you don't know who it is. Sometimes you don't, how do you know? Oftentimes they don't announce it. Sometimes it's just your homeboy and he's dead, so he can't say who it was. So you don't know who it is. You wake up your homeboy over there on the pavement, yellow tape out there. Who killed him? Nobody knows. So you say, okay, a lot of these gangs, when in those instances where you don't know who it was, you're not going to just say, well, we don't know who it was, so we just not going to respond or retaliate against anyone. Instead, they go the other route and say, we're going to attack everyone. Then we'll get the person that did it. We'll get the gang that did it. Once we attack 9 different gangs, one of them did it. That's how they look at it, and that's how they end up doing it.
Here, as we see with a lot of dudes that go on these sprees, a little cooling period transpired after they recklessly killed Timothy Lee in the Nickerson Gardens. So about a week and a half later, these dudes is back up in Florence Graham by their 8-7 hood. Really, they just going from each hood trying to get at any one of their enemies. And honestly, these 6 murders are just the ones that they had to face charges for. LAPD has said that they was linked to multiple other shootings, attempted murders, assaults, robberies, and carjackings. But either way, on December 3rd, they seemingly weren't done with the work that they was all trying to put in. So here we go on Firestone and Grand. Now we know this is an extremely hot area, man. By this metro right here, we know Beach, Firestone, we got Mortontown Stoners over here, 7689 East Coast, Florencia. This is one of the most dangerous areas in the city. Yeah. This Florence Graham area literally has the worst crime rate in all of Los Angeles. And in terms of violent crime, it's rated an F. And this is where these dudes end up running to Cody Martin and Erica Dixon. So it said that Mario Gonzalez, again, the star player in these hits, and Padilla Yates confronted Cody Martin at a burger stand. Again, as usual, they believe he was a blood member. Now, The Swans are just down Firestone across Central, but we also had a 9 Deuce Bishops over here, which really like are some older members, but they do be over here at this liquor store off Beach and Firestone. But like I said, this Metro right here, you gonna catch anybody up here. You can assume anybody's from anywhere when you catch him up here. But whatever it was, they banged on Martin at the burger stand and he got on. Nothing happened. Now it's said that later on, Gonzalez peeped Martin again at the bus stop. He returned to the burger spot to get Yates and Maratala, and then returned in Maratala's girlfriend's whip to the bus stop. And this is where they ended up killing Cody Martin, 23 years old, and also sadly killing another female, Erica Dixon, who lost her life with 2 kids at home. And just to recap, man, they homie was killed on September 26th. Here we are on December 3rd. They didn't kill 5 people.
Damn.
Mario Gonzalez on each one so far. Now,
yeah, that's some, whoa. That's some serial killing stuff right there, man. Yeah, the title is accurate. They went hunting. Serial killers go hunting for revenge, man. They done killed 5 people already. He got killed in September. And a lot of this stuff, that's how it happens. It's immediate. It's an immediate response. It's an immediate retaliation. When Tupac got killed, though he wasn't really affiliated like that and all that, but you know, he was hanging out with the Bloods and Mob Pop Rules, and they started going at it with the South Side immediately. Just covered BL from Great. When he got killed, I gave that to my members. They went at it immediately. I'm talking about within hours. There were killings back and forth. When something happens, everybody better go in the damn house because the other gang is coming back to retaliate immediately. Here it is. We'll finish it up in part 2. I will do part 2 today. I promise you. I'll do part 2 today. I want to see it myself. Because these individuals, as we can see, are on a cold mission. Their big homie went down, bit the dust. He got killed. And as the OG in the neighborhood said, it triggered something in them. Apparently he was the leader, or at least the emotional leader. This is someone who they clearly cared about. And yeah, the response is often different depending on who the individual is that was harmed. You have certain individuals in your hood that your whole hood is going to go crazy for if something happens to that individual. And you have some individuals that, they're going to respond for it, they're going to retaliate. It's more personal than anything because you attacked him is like you attacked our gang. You say F our gang. It's not even about that person sometimes. It's just that he was claiming our gang. So it's going to be a response. But then you have those responses where it's personal. Where they took out someone that was well loved and it's personal. This apparently is one of those situations because these individuals are out here. And again, the LAPD said that they believe that they are responsible for more murders and more shootings, robberies and everything else. This is just the one, or these murders or just the ones that they were able to prove or put a case on them over. So they're out here on a mission. We'll pick it up there. We're in December. They already have 5 murders. And Mario Gonzalez apparently has been in on every one of them. And they're pulling up the individuals at burger stands and all this. You got to be careful. This is what I mean. When I say you have to be careful in the area. It's not about being tough or LA is so tough and all. You better be careful. No, you just better be careful. You be going to a damn burger stand. Thinking you just pulled over, you hungry. You just pulled over to get a burger. And they think that he was a blood. They think that he was a blood. And they can think that you are a blood. If they think, that means they don't know him. No one said, oh, that's so-and-so from such and such. They didn't know who he was. They wasn't sure if he was a blood, which means it could have been any one of us, and they're not sure where you are from. And you lose your life. That's how it happens. All right, there you have it. Shout out to Rap news and street politics. Good job as usual. Very thorough. Does his homework as it should be done. Check him out. I'm coming back to this right here. We're going to pick it up. Stay safe and stay free. People.